We are starting on page 5 of your digital notebook. We are on page 55 in your textbook. And if you are using the e-text, you just need to click next one time and then scroll down to where it says Akkadian culture. That is where we are going to be starting. The first question you're going to be looking for the answer is in this pink highlighted paragraph. It's the very first paragraph going to be read to you. I will let this all be read before I pause. But the question is, what two cultural traits did the Akkadians and Sumerians have in common? So what did they have in common? Let's go ahead and listen.
Akkadian culture. The Akkadians and Sumerians shared some cultural traits. A cultural trait is an idea or way of doing things that is common in a certain culture. For example, the Akkadians and Sumerians had similar religious practices, and both societies used the cuneiform system of writing. As Sargon's troops moved throughout the Fertile Crescent, they brought their cultural traits with them. Furthermore, Akkadians began to trade with people as far away as the Indus Valley in modern-day Pakistan. While the Fertile Crescent provided abundant crops, it had few trees and did not provide any minerals. Trading to the east and west, Akkadians obtained wood, copper, silver, and precious stones like red carnelian and blue lapis lazuli. Through trade, Akkadian and Sumerian culture spread to other regions and was adopted by other peoples.
Again, the question, what two cultural traits did the Akkadians and Sumerians have in common? You'll find that answer in this pink highlighted paragraph. We are going to move on to page 6. You will find the first question. What is another reason? It's the same question as the page 4, number 2, that Sargon was able to rule such a large empire. We're going to talk about this one a little bit more after it's read to you. So this blue highlighted paragraph is where you'll find the answer to number 1. And then number 2, within how many years after Sargon's death did the Akkadian Empire collapse? You'll find that answer in this green highlighted paragraph. So go ahead and listen to that now.
How did the Akkadian Empire end? To control such a large empire, Sargon appointed local rulers. Each local ruler served as king of the land he oversaw. Sargon was able to control the Akkadian Empire for more than 50 years. After Sargon's death in 2279 BCE, the Akkadian Empire faced a growing number of rebellions and invasions. Within 100 years, the empire had collapsed. Warriors from the Zagros Mountains, east of the Tigris River, eventually took control of the region. Around 2100 BCE, Sumer was united again, this time by Ur-Nammu, the ruler of Ur. Ur-Nammu issued the world's first known law code. Ur prospered for about 100 years under Ur-Nammu and later rulers. Then, an uprising of rebels from the east managed to destroy Ur and capture its ruler. This ended Ur's rule over Sumer. Once again, the Sumerian city-states fought over power.
All right, number 1, what is another reason, this is the same question as page 4, number 2, that Sargon was able to rule such a large empire? That answer's in this blue paragraph, but let's talk about this for a second, or let me tell you about it for a second. If you were to take over, if you were to go to Ohio and take over a school, would it be better for you to take a couple friends with you, and maybe you'll have one friend in this classroom and another friend in another classroom, and you will tell them you're going to lead this school. You will tell them how to lead that classroom. You're going to lead everyone. But then if you take a friend or a relative, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, and you put them in other classrooms and you tell them how you want it to be ruled, would that be better for you? What Sargon did is he appointed the local rulers, people he knew and trusted. So he put certain people who he knew, when he said, you need to collect this much in taxes, he knew, because this person was his friend, that it would get done. So that's how he could control such a large empire. He put people he knew in control of all these little spots outside in the big empire. So these people he knew and trusted were in charge of smaller areas. So he knew he'd be okay, and that's how he was able to rule such a large empire. So go ahead and get that answer for number 1 now. Number 2, within how many years after Sargon's death did the Akkadian Empire collapse? You'll find that answer in this green highlighted paragraph. All right, we are going to move on to page 7. We're going to click next to move to the next page. This is going to be one of your Aspire to-dos, I believe. I guess I don't know, maybe not. But we are going to look at this question. So we have pressed next 3 times total from the beginning. You're on page 56 if you're using the textbook. And we have one question here in this pink highlight, so I'm going to let this be read to you first.
The Babylonian Empire. After the destruction of Ur, many groups invaded Sumer. One of them, the Amorites, came from northern Mesopotamia. The Amorites took control of several Sumerian cities, including Babylon. At the time, Babylon was a small, unimportant city on the Euphrates River near present-day Baghdad, Iraq. But under a king named Hammurabi, Babylon became the center of a new Mesopotamian empire.
All right, I'm going to pause that there because we're going to look for this answer in this pink highlight. How was Hammurabi's method of ruling similar to Sargon's? It's kind of like what I just talked about, just a little bit of a hint there. So how was Hammurabi's method of ruling similar to Sargon? Let's go ahead and listen.
The empire forms. Around 1792 BCE, Hammurabi became king of Babylon. For 30 years, he solidified his power and built up his army. Then, he launched a series of attacks against other Mesopotamian city-states. Within a few years, he had united southern Mesopotamia into what we now call the Old Babylonian Empire, which is also called Babylonia. Hammurabi was an excellent military leader, and he was also a skilled ruler. Like Sargon, after Hammurabi built his empire, he had to create a government strong enough to hold it together. He sent his own governors, tax collectors, and judges to rule distant cities. He spread out his well-trained troops over the empire. Hammurabi also oversaw a number of public building projects and encouraged the growth of trade with other lands.